I'm a nerd.
Nerds.
Nerds.
Nerds!
I'm not kissing a nerd.
What is a nerd?
Holy crap, are we nerdy?
Plan locked in for part 2 and part 3.
Well,
Yes, so all they've confirmed is that it will be Channing Tatum and
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill. It will not be Will Smith or Tommy Lee Jones reprising their roles. So it's either going to be new agents or different actors playing those agents.
I hope it's new agents. I remember seeing that and I thought that was kind of like, oh, I wish Tommy Lee, even as a
Even if it's Tommy Lee
cameo-
Jones.
Well, no, just having Tommy Lee Jones come back as like the head of the MIB.
Yeah.
I mean that would have been cool. But
Well,
Well, they
that
cast
what's her name?
the great
yeah,
British
at that
actress
time, but it's been
for
a while.
Men in Black 3.
Yes. Welcome, Nerdables, to episode 131. This week, if you're listening already, you know we're starting to talk about Men in Black, the new Men in Black movie, which is Men in Black. I guess it's not even versus. I started to say versus because
It's just
everything.
Men in Black. It's just
it's
Men in Black 21 Jump Street.
No, 23 Jump Street.
Is that what it is? 23 Jump Street.
It's 23 Jump Street because they're going to continue on that upping the number. So 23 Jump Street Men in Black crossover that they're going to be doing. We're also going to be talking about all the new Marvel information, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and there was some talk on the TV side of things. If I don't remember if I don't remember correctly.
It's MIB 23 is the official title
See,
and
there we
logo.
go.
MIB 23.
There we go. And we also need to make sure we thank all of our fans in Canada, the Great Britain, the Philippines, and Australia because we just went over 10,000 listens on SoundCloud. So
Americans don't like us.
no, America.
No, they don't listen to it.
America. I mean, we've had in the last 24 hours we've had 400 listens in the United States.
How did your cousin listen to this 400 times?
I don't know. There was just like this. Did you? Were you on? You were on the.
Does he just like repeat it?
No, Thomas.
You were on the. Thomas doesn't listen to it.
Just flips it over and over and over again.
You were on the Puck podcast this week, right?
Yeah, I was.
Or last week?
Yes.
Did you mention Nerdables?
I think so.
That may be what it is because there was a big spike in the last 7 days.
It's a possibility. I can't. I'll be honest. This whole week has been such a blur. I can't remember.
So anyone from the Puck podcast that's listening, thank you very much. And hopefully this summer we will have
It's Kevin and Bean in the morning.
Hopefully later this summer, we'll have a big announcement that will be happening.
Rich is leaving the show.
I'm leaving the show.
Taking all his equipment.
I'm
and
taking.
going.
Yeah, we'll do the same thing the week that Rich was gone and go, I wish someone of us knew how to use the fucking equipment because we could record a show this week instead of going dark. But Rich is one was like, well, I'm so important if I'm not here.
Oh, that's it.
I
don't want
if
anybody
that
else to
happens,
know.
it may end up becoming like a very PBS NewsHour roundtable.
Welcome to Nerdables.
Welcome to
Welcome to
Nerdables this week.
Nerdables, episode 150. Joining me this week, Mike, Sebastian, and Ethan. We'll be discussing the recent developments in the Marvel universe. Spider-Man, yes or no? No, okay.
And
there
a
we
little
go.
break from Aunt Mabel and her recipe for ginger
And remember
cookies.
now.
Wow, so I bring the entertainment. I appreciate that.
and
Or at least I
remember,
bring the insanity.
We only work for donations, if you please. Call this number now, 800-777-7777.
Like and
Please make a
subscribe.
donation. Like and subscribe. Please support your local NPR stations anywhere you are.
Okay, so as we were talking on, we're coming on the air.
I might do this voice for the rest of the day.
I'm trying to get us back on track. As we were talking,
Yeah, because
as we-
that works.
I know, right?
You want to be petty?
Men in Black, 23 Jump Street, 21 Jump Street crossover.
I apologize for any noise coming from a mic. There is a dog who wants to join in the conversation.
Amelia's trying to get in, and yes,
Unfortunately,
she is
dogs
named
don't
after
know-
Amelia Pond on Doctor
Unfortunately,
Who.
dogs don't know how to talk. They can only love.
You haven't looked at the internet. There's a lot of dogs.
There's a lot of dogs on there.
You wanna
One
go to
of
bed?
One of Chris's favorite videos.
Which one?
The dogs on the plane.
The dog. No, it's a dog, and he's flying through the air like
yes.
Superman. So as Sebastian, you were saying, Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill
They're
are
back.
confirmed.
For MIB 23, but Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith will not be in the movie.
I'm kind of glad.
I mean, it's the Men in Black, and even when they did their animated series, they always knew when to sort of introduce other agents,
Yes.
which is fine by me. It's a big organization, and there's a lot
I
of
just think-
room.
I want to see
no,
more agents. I want to see it
think-
expand.
Hold on. I think there's a statute of limitations on Will Smith sequels because he's not in the new Independence Day
Because he wanted too much
And he's
money.
not- no. It's just there's a couple of years and then it falls off and he just can't be in the film anymore. So if you
They
make
lose the
your-
rights to Will
If you
Smith?
make your sequel a decade later, or more. You're just like you're not allowed to have them. Sorry.
Well, didn't they make MIB3 like a couple years ago?
They did.
It was
I
like
thought it
5
more
years
than a
ago.
couple- Was it only 5?
It's something like
No,
that.
it might be
it's
3
less than
later
that.
than
It's
that,
longer
isn't it?
than that, yeah.
Well, good thing is somebody can look it up real quick.
9 people
that
on their
requires
phones.
doing work.
No, in MIB3, oh god, what's her name? Nanny McPhee.
Emma Thompson.
Emma Thompson took over as the head. As M.
no,
No, what
the-
was she? She was what? Did,
O.
She was a.
She's O.
Oh yes.
Yeah, because
Oh.
the title Zed is just British Z because we have to assume that Zed's real first name began with a Z.
Right.
And,
Well, that and Z just sounds terrible on a screen.
right, it does, but it's all, and you don't count the cartoon show, so there was no alpha
Right.
for the other first agent.
You don't count the cartoon show.
But so O is leader. I don't know if Emma Thompson will be back, but it'd be interesting to see if they bring her back. It would have been nice if Tommy Lee Jones, because
I think Tommy Lee Jones is
Will
the
Smith
head.
is the kind of person who turned down Independence Day 2 because they wouldn't pay him enough money. So I can't imagine him coming back for only a couple $1 million. For,
No, he said if they make MIB 24, his kid had to be the Jump Street kid. So
Oh, that's who they could
He's
have.
like, "Woo!
They could have. They
my
could have.
kid, the talented one. He's going to be in it. Woo!
They could have Will Smith's son as the new Jay.
God, I'm never going to see that film.
Static Shock.
Okay, so
Jay, all
if
these
you-
comic book characters, they're giving this kid everything.
Sebastian, if you were writing MIB 23, how would you cross it over to the 21 Jump Street? Have you seen the 21 or 22 Jump
I
Streets?
have.
Which are great movies, and I
I-
was so
I
apprehensive
will-
about seeing them.
See, I will.
Hold on, wait.
I'll be clear. I am neutral towards them.
Okay.
I'm not. I don't.
God forbid. I was so
No.
worried he liked something.
No, I don't love them or hate them. They were enjoyable, but just movies that like I never saw again afterwards. So that's sort of for me. That's the neutrality. Even if I liked them, if I didn't buy them, then it's kind of like okay, whatever.
Did you laugh at them?
Yeah, I did. No, they were really well done, and I was worried that like any sort of remake that they would just forego sort of the spirit of the classic show.
Yes.
and they were able to maintain the
They
spirit. but
made
give
it hyper reality of the
They
original.
did. They did make it the hyper reality of the original. That's a very good way to put it. So, and even for me, even for 21 Jump Street, the show is not a show I was beloved anyways. I had watched reruns and stuff of it. But even watching the movie was like, all right, okay, that was kind of fun. And then it was a movie that just kind of moved on.
Well, it was even they even made fun of themselves about when they
idea
were in
that they're
high
even
school.
getting
In
away
high school or
with-
in college. It's like
Right.
Well, what, you're like 40 years old in college, aren't you? In the second one.
Right.
Like, what are you? You're
So-
in your 30s in high school.
I think the more like interesting topic now is what kind of comedy does Sebastian really enjoy?
That's the thing. I so much that like there's such a wide array of types of humor. Like I can watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force all day, and I know that gets on people's nerves like nobody's business. But then I could also go back and watch like old Police Academy movies, and then 21 Jump Street, laugh at it, have fun with it. Comedy,
but it's Seinfeld
comedy-
like it's Seinfeld type.
Seinfeld is easily one of my top 10 TV shows of all
See,
time.
I can see
Okay,
that.
yeah,
I can
that-
see Larry
that
David
kinda
shows being your.
I love Larry David.
Yeah, I can see that being your favorite type of comedy.
I'm a huge fan of It's Always Sunny, and that's just like
which you hate, Chris. You absolutely hate that show,
Hate's too strong a word. I just don't. I'm like,
which is amazing.
no, I watch it and go, I don't understand why all my friends find this funny.
But it's amazing because you find the other guys, you find
Well,
21
those guys-
Jump Street funny.
then
and it's
again,
all along the same type of satire.
and for much fun
It's
as I
so-
poke at Fox, I'll also watch their cop show, and the name just completely
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which
There's
I
another one.
enjoy.
Cannot.
But I
I'll see
also
3 episodes and I go, I don't get this at all.
but I also loved 30 Rock, which is another one of my
Right.
absolute favorite TV comedies.
So where would this? Because Men in Black is a comedy.
The movie is it's Men in Black, especially if you look at like that first film.
It's slapstick.
Is the first movie is sci-fi before comedy, sort of in the way Ghostbusters was horror and thriller before comedy.
Right.
With a lot of save for a few, like we cast Will Smith, we need to have him scream for 5 minutes. The movie has a lot of very subtle humor, and for this, again, the universe is big enough. I mean, we all roll our eyes that they're even doing a crossover.
I'm
21
excited
Jump Street.
for it. I really am
But
because
if-
I want more 21 Jump Street.
But if I was gonna do it immediately, like you could deputize them, and that's the end goal. Don't make them agents. Just like, oh, we need your help. We need somebody to infiltrate. You know the streets. You
No,
know,
I
mean, you just
and
got-
then
it's
by the
same
end of the
thing.
movie, you erase their memories, and the movie's done, and then you can treat it like it never happened.
But see, I think you do it the opposite way. I think, like I said when we were off the air, was I think that they've been helping them out on certain missions, and every time they've wiped their memory, which is why they are kind of that slow type.
Dopey.
Dopey.
That's entirely possible too.
Yeah, I think that you're going far. Channing Tatum is Will Smith.
Yes.
Something happens, he runs him down, and they're like, "That's the guy we want. Bring him in. Hey, we're going to be a part of this." And being as dumb as he is, he's
I
a
want
part
my-
of a
I
secret.
want my partner.
Not even I want my partner. He just brings him along.
Right.
He just walks into the MIB, the headquarters with Jonah Hill's character
Yeah, in
in
Battery
tow. They're like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, he just comes with me everywhere." "What? He's not allowed?" That sort of thing. Whatever it is,
They just
yes,
don't realize it.
I can't imagine a scenario, a plot that isn't the MIB organization hiring one or both of these two, or recruiting one or both of these two for this new threat.
You do realize we've completely put Ethan to sleep because he hates this type of comedy. Remember the other
What,
guys?
funny?
Yeah, remember the other guys? He just
Remember anything that we've watched that we think is funny?
Ethan, did you like either one of the 21 or 22 Jump Streets?
Yeah, I enjoyed them.
Don't give us too much there.
The only
You asked the
person
question and I answered.
the,
That
the
would've
only
been my
person I
answer, too.
know that has less of a reaction to something they enjoy than Sebastian is Ethan. Where Ethan's like, yeah. He could sit, like, seriously. The other guys was something out of this world.
Right.
I love that movie. I'm dying. I look over at Ethan, and Ethan looks like, one of the statues on fucking Easter
Remember
Island.
when the cars are stacked on top of each other, he's just like,
standing
that's
there,
ridiculous. That could
like looking at it and just like whatever. I'm on the floor dying. That movie's hilarious. And I'm just everyone here's let's go to Dub. I'm like, of course, I'm dumb. It's the whole point. It's fucking hilarious. It's amazing. Well, no, the breaking point thing is nothing's ever better than Mike's breaking point for Charlie's Angels 2, which somehow we saw in a theater.
Yeah,
helicopter.
but you're laughing at that movie, not with that movie.
Yeah, no, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. The funny, we get to the point where I think it's I want to say Demi Lovato's.
Demi Lovato.
Demi Lovato. Demi Moore's character, like she breaks a
Some banner or sign.
yeah, it was like
hanging
a
on the
string
side
of
a
lights,
building.
and then she goes like Tarzan style into the back seat of a car, and he's like, "Oh, that
Well,
light's
no.
like way too long."
It wasn't that. It was the delay.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, it was the delay of her swing, and then
Yeah.
there was such a big pause, and then you see her
then
drop
she-
into the car.
So
You're like,
that's where
what the-
he has a problem. He's like, "Oh, come on! Like that's the point of the movie that broke you." They jump start a helicopter flying straight down a dam and somehow pull it out of a nosedive with
See,
no
I
power.
don't care about that.
Exactly.
That's
You're
fine.
like, okay, whatever.
It was the delay that screwed it up.
That's what drives me crazy.
I remember laughing at the helicopter, and it's one of those scenes where it's supposed to be like that tense, the tense
Yeah.
moment.
It was
of
like, yeah, it was the
and I
tense
go, like,
action
it's just
scene.
like- it's one of those things like it's just so stupid
Yeah.
that you laugh.
So, okay, Sebastian, I'm going to ask you, because Chris kind of gave his idea of a plot. What would your plot be for MIB 23?
I mean,
Ice Cube is an alien.
the thing is that like
That would be good.
But the thing about Men in Black is that it's going to be an alien threat, obviously, and it just depends on like what's the genre of alien threat now. They've kind of done like one-on-one villains. You could do like a Body Snatchers.
Would you do it as
Alien?
almost like a reboot where you have the two guys chasing down a guy and it ends up they screw up the whole
I'm sure they'll
investigation
make.
for the MIB?
Here's the thing: the humor of 21 Jump Street is one of those things like that joke that will be in the movie, but it will be played off as a joke. It'll be an homage to that original scene, but it'll be Jonah Hill super winded.
Yeah.
It'll be just silly fighting or them.
Well, they do it. They do
Channing
it in the
Tatum,
movie
like,
where Channing
throwing-
Tatum, he's doing this parkour down over things, and Jonah Hill's got to take the long way around.
That's it. I mean, that's the kind of humor. It's very basic humor. We're not talking. It's not highbrow.
Right.
And that's sort of what 21 Jump Street brings to Men in Black, which sort of has the subtle humor.
Yeah.
And as dumb as it is to have a crossover, it's one of the things like, it's going to make money, whatever.
Oh, it's.
I'll check if it, and here's the thing is like for as much as I can be serious about film and cinema, I also know when to just like, look, if a movie's good, a movie's going to be good. And if a movie's bad and I enjoy it, I at least have the wherewithal to know that I'm enjoying a crap movie.
It's my way with Jurassic World. I'm like, it's not written, constructed really well, but it's just, to me, it's a lot of fun.
Sure.
So I enjoy it. I'm not going like, that's an Oscar-winning caliber film that the Academy has overlooked. It's like, yeah, it's big and dumb and loud, and dinosaurs eat people, and that's awesome.
Right, and the thing that tends to grind a lot of people's gears about me is that I don't try and polish a turd and sell it to me. It's like, no, the movie is shit.
Just give me the turd. I don't want it polished.
I was going to sell you some polished turd later.
Just tell me it's shit and that I should watch it because it's just terrible garbage.
Okay, Ghostbusters is shit, but you're gonna watch. You need to watch it.
Here's the thing: if it's that kind of shit, I might go watch it. The thing is, if we're talking about
I want us to buy him his ticket and take him.
But
if we bought you a ticket, would you go?
No, because here's the thing: if there a movie can be bad, but a movie can be bad but enjoyable. But there's also movies that are just bad,
right?
And if Ghostbusters is bad but enjoyable, sure, I'll probably watch it on Netflix when it gets there inevitably after 1 or 2 months. But if it ends up being like this is schlocky B movie nonsense, that's when I'll catch it. If it's just a bad movie where nothing works and the timing is off, and it's just then that'll be it. That'll be the end
torrent
of
it so you don't feel like you wasted your money.
I love the idea that Sebastian thinks that Ghostbusters is going to be on Netflix 4 weeks after it's released.
So I planned on talking this. I forgot to mention this in the opening, and it reminded me when Sebastian's talking.
That's weird. Usually it's the other way around. We mention it in the opening and we never talk about it.
But Sebastian mentioned stupid movies, and I was going to talk about this when I first saw it, but then Sebastian, I saw you put it up on our Facebook page, on the Nerdables Facebook page, which if you haven't seen it, go check out our Nerdables Facebook page, by the way.
Shameless plug.
No, he's not talking to the audience. He's talking to us.
Oh,
yeah, that's right. Pokemon, the live-action movie is being tossed around.
Good grief.
Yep.
You knew it was going to happen.
Of course. Well, it was inevitable.
I'm surprised it's taken this long.
Yeah. Oh, it absolutely. It was inevitable, and it's one of those things that, on my own Facebook page, I if you didn't hear, Ghost in the Shell is starting to shoot, and they released first.
They released pictures that showed Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson is Kusanagi, and the internet went crazy.
Which I'm surprised because they announced this almost a year ago.
Right, they did, but they didn't care back then.
Right.
A year ago was a very different time and place for that, where nobody gave a crap.
Well, it's also pictures speak a lot.
That's the other thing.
And
she's playing what?
Yeah, and it's one, and you've got the social justice warriors and the demographic crowd. The analysis that I have is there are many crowds. There are the crowds who are diversity in movies, whitewashing, and I go yes, this is the one occasion of the handful that you're absolutely correct, and that this is whitewashing because it's Ghost in the Shell and all the characters are Japanese. But then
that's not going to sell to an American audience,
right? But then that exact same group of people says nothing about a black British actor being cast as Ambassador Kiyoshi, a Japanese man in the film,
right?
Michael Pitt from Boardwalk Empire being cast as Kuze, another Japanese man. Nobody said anything about them.
Right.
And I'm sort of sitting back going I understand why the otakus are angry. Otakus, specifically nerds of Japanese culture. I understand why they're angry because they didn't get a 100% Japanese cast. That's why I'm angry.
Right.
But then I see the people sort of jumping on the bandwagon who want brownie points in society, jumping on the bandwagon. But they're only mentioning Scarlett Johansson, who's the white woman lead of the movie.
So who would you have cast in that role?
The woman who played Mako in Pacific Rim.
Okay.
Kenny is someone I know named Kenny. He immediately listed that off as one of his choices. He's like, but a movie wouldn't make any money if she was put in the lead. I go, but for me, I go, that's a perfect casting choice.
Yes, but
right off the bat.
But and when you look at that and to play devil's advocate with it, you're talking you need to have a marketable person. But on the other side of it, look at Ex Machina.
Yes.
That movie did amazing without having anybody in it that was really a marketable name.
But nobody.
Yeah, but it's not based off of a property that exists that
that's
everybody
true.
knows of.
But it's also the thing that grinds my gears of sort of the hypocrisy of the people who call it out only when it's something really famous.
Right.
where it's like a lot of times I tend to roll my eyes when a lot of the stuff gets thrown around because it's like the Iron Fist, where everyone's like, they didn't make Iron Fist Asian. Danny Rand is an Asian. End of story.
That was my favorite, where they didn't,
Right.
where you just don't understand the material. Like, if Danny Rand is an Asian, like he's not supposed to be Asian.
and for
To me, that's a great casting for that.
right,
by the way.
but for me, it's like no, Danny Rand is an Asian. End of story. There is no discussion here. I'm sorry. But then,
Elektra, they got right.
sure, yes, they did. But then I look at something like Edge of Tomorrow, which is based on a manga, and all the characters are Japanese. Nobody said shit about Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt being cast in the movie
because no one
Because-
realized
because
that
no
was
one knew
a-
it was.
because
was a
nobody
manga.
cared. And for me, the one argument that I know, like, that has been the giveaway, the red flag moment of the people making the argument, is that it's like you're casting Scarlett Johansson as a white person for a character who's the Japanese lead of the story, and I go, every character in Ghost in the Shell is Japanese. You cannot complain about Scarlett Johansson being cast as this character
If you're not
and not call out the other white woman, the two other white guys, and the black guy also cast as Japanese characters in the film. And that's when I want to tear my hair out of, you don't, like, do you not
it is
see the
black Japanese
hypocrisy?
guys.
Hold on. Here's
Well,
my
people
question.
are doing
Hold
the
on,
same
stop,
thing
stop,
with
stop,
Dark
stop.
Tower.
Stop.
Sure.
Stop. Here's my question. Does it take place in Japan?
Yes.
Okay, because you have to give people the right to adapt stuff.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing.
And I do,
Edge of Tomorrow, it doesn't matter whether they're Japanese or not, to me.
and as a guy who knows
Because
how the
Edge
film
of
industry
Tomorrow
works,
is just-
I
it's
100% agree.
Yeah, if you watch it has nothing to do with Japan. There's
Right.
nothing in it that's Japanese.
Right.
All of the soldiers are British or American.
Right.
He's on
And it
British
takes
television.
place. It takes place in Europe.
Exactly. So to me, like, getting mad at that because the original manga is drawn by a Japanese artist and you've adapted something, you've moved it out of Japan. It's not Japanese producers, it's not a Japanese
course.
company or whatever. So Edge of Tomorrow, to me, I would say there's nothing to be angry about one way or the other. If this takes place in Japan and everybody's white or black, then yes, I would say you have some sort of, you have a point. It's just, again,
Tom Cruise is the last samurai.
Tom Cruise, the Last Samurai.
we can't finish that joke. Paul Mooney on movies. One of the best things I've ever seen.
Go to YouTube, look up that Chappelle Show skit.
Oh my god.
See,
that was
but as a guy who knows how the movie industry works, I wholeheartedly agree. I understand exactly. The movie would never have been greenlit if it wasn't Scarlett Johansson in the lead. I understand that as a person, like,
They're
Ghost in
trying
the
to get
Shell.
the mainstream audience.
Ghost in the Shell is a weird concept, very high science, and requires an understanding of the change in Japanese culture at the time it was written, because that's what the story is really about. Cyborgs and people installing their brains in the robots is just the icing on the deeper story of what's being told.
Right.
And as somebody who goes like, yes, this is 100% whitewashing. And you should be angry at this. You have every right to. This is the time when you get upset because yes, this has happened, and it flies in the face of what this story means.
But there's a lot
then-
of things that they don't know about what's going on the other end. Who knows? You know, like I mentioned Dark Tower a minute ago. You know,
Right,
Everybody assumed McConaughey was going to take
Right.
the gunslinger role.
And then you have the same people making the argument goes like, but that story doesn't require
But
the
when-
character of that doesn't require his character to be white. And
And exactly, you don't. It doesn't.
And-
You
and-
assume that.
Well, he's presented. He is mentioned as being white in the books, but
It mentions a pale. It does say pale.
I understand-
But then also the
again,
Man in Black
that's-
is pale.
That's an adaptation.
It is.
That's the
It
same
is an
thing.
adaptation, and
The original Man in Black comic book is two white dudes.
Right.
Yes, and
That's what it is.
Again,
Yeah.
and I understand the arguments on that end, but it's also the idea that like, so the same people saying that like, no, he can be Idris Elba, which is he's a great actor. I have nothing against him, but then to then go, no, Kusanagi cannot be anyone but a Japanese woman.
Right.
Is something where it's like you don't see this is an adaptation of Ghost in the Shell. It's the same logic of filmmaking is.
Have
being
they
applied.
said if the movie is going to be shot? I mean, it's going to be taking
They
place
shot
in Japan.
Yeah, they shot in New Zealand for Tokyo. We don't know if any of the other locales will be Japan. There's
Right.
still not enough information to be said. And again, Devil's Advocate, I agree with you. It's an adaptation. Things are going to change. And yeah, it makes people upset. But the people who defend some changes, like, we want to make Idris Elba James Bond, even though there is 100% a description for James Bond basically being Ian Fleming mashed with Hoagie Carmichael.
But see, but for some, Dark Tower, it works with putting him in that role because you can change it.
It's a very vague
with
description.
James Bond, it's a little bit different. There's also been a lineage that's been set up.
Sure.
That it's kind of like, well, why go against that lineage now? It's like with the same thing with the Doctor. The Doctor in Doctor Who is a little bit more.
Doctor Who has an out.
You can change the Doctor's gender. You can change the Doctor's.
He has an out.
His race or whatever, because that is an out. Well, I mean, he's not. He's going to be.
He's going to be a black Chinese gay woman in the next.
So for me, but that's sort of the crux of why I tend to pull my hair out, is that, like, there are times when, like, yes, this is the time that you need to have your argument made.
Okay, so Pokemon.
But then on the day after this backlash, that is the first thing announced, that there is a huge bidding war going on between Sony and Legendary
and Warner Brothers.
That they want to make this a live-action property.
Do you
and
think
none of them should?
That was going to be my next question.
No,
those three studios.
My question is, in terms of Pokemon, a bidding war between 3 studios, it's huge. Why now?
Right.
I mean, you have a
Because
property. Yes,
because
it's
it's
still
20th,
big.
20th anniversary.
It's the 20th
nothing
anniversary.
but nothing like when it first hit.
No.
Right.
That peak in North America where it exploded.
Because they're running out of comic books to adaptate, so they need to.
Well,
do
here's
that.
the thing: is Pokemon had a big cartoon show when it was very popular.
Right,
so,
but
I
it's
mean,
all,
like,
and
it wasn't.
that show's still going on.
Yeah, there was no reason to make a movie from it.
Right, and it's
But
all,
of those 3 studios, do any of those studios, from what they make now, do any of those appeal to you as making this movie?
no, because I think any studio can make anything.
Yeah, it's the
depending
idea
on
that
the money.
that stupid commercial with the studio that brought you Star Wars. Shut up.
Yeah,
Like
anybody,
the studio gives a damn, and the studio makes absolutely no difference.
Well, I was talking to
If you
somebody
want
the
a
other day about
producer-
this.
If you want a producer, okay, I'll give you this. If it's a studio that does an independent project,
Sure.
Miramax had that name. If you were adapting Jane Austen and it said Miramax before it, you're like, okay, this will probably
Kinda
be
like
decent.
Focus
Yeah,
now.
whatever. But if you're telling me, Disney's making a film, so of course, because they made all these other good films, this film's going to be great too. No, that same person doesn't mean that they understand.
Right.
There's too many layers between the studio head and the guy or woman who's producing a film.
So if they
who's
went, Jerry
ultimately
Bruckheimer
responsible-
presents Pokemon.
Jerry Bruckheimer's different because Jerry Bruckheimer had a name that was attached to these big, huge, dumb action films, and they were all done in a way, in a certain
They
sort
were
of style.
stylized.
Whether it was Michael Bay, whether it was someone else doing it, they had a kind of tone or thing that he was looking for.
Right.
Because, you have to keep that the same so that you can keep your partner hopped up on every drug known to man,
Sure.
which he then dies of. And his toxicology report looks like a pharmacy.
Shh, that's not talked about.
But in terms of a studio, we've seen Fox will make a smaller picture that is a period piece and make X-Men.
sure.
Disney
Fox
makes
and Fox Searchlight.
Yeah,
Right.
it's just so there's a certain
there's
grid,
Fox
there's a certain
Greenlight.
place for that and that sort of stuff. But in terms of a studio, who the hell cares? If you want to tell me who's going to produce it, who's going to direct it, obviously,
Right.
that's something different. There's a difference between
Michael
Michael
Bay.
Bay directs Pokemon versus Jon Favreau directs Pokemon.
right, and that's the thing is, like, when I look at something like Ghost in the Shell, I'm the unreasonable fan that you cannot please, because I go,
Oh God, seriously.
because I go,
Truer words have never been spoken
And
on this planet.
and here's the thing, you should,
We'll give you $30 to see this, Sebastian. I'm not sure. I just don't think this is a good film at all.
but I go, you
That's
either
2 hours of my time I have to waste.
you either cast an all Japanese cast, or you
you're
don't do
tough.
it.
That's mean.
If you're not gonna do it right, don't do it at all.
So who would you cast as
Dragon Ball
Ash
Evolution.
Ketchum?
Oh God.
No,
The
but see,
original Ash
see,
voice.
You've already made it so
Andy
that this
Samberg.
movie will have a white person cast, because they're
Obviously going to do the Ash Ketchum story.
But here's the thing: is that the rest of the world is not.
Wait,
But that's
is-
it. It
is
doesn't
his-
matter.
Wait,
It
is
doesn't
his
matter.
Is his last name Ketchum? 'Cause he
Yes.
has to
It's
catch
not.
them all.
That's because
Is that what it is?
only in the United States. In the video game, he's Red or Akka. That's the character's
You know
name.
that they're going to
In the-
go with what is most common to the United States.
Sure. In the
Hold on, we've already preloaded Sebastian's argument against the film, As soon as you see that first trailer, Ash Ketchum is looking for Pikachu. His name's supposed to be Red, you sons of bitches. What's wrong with
Ash
you?
Ketchum
no,
has
'cause-
to catch them all.
Well, no, because in the character in the original video game is not the same character from the anime and the manga.
Ooh.
The character in the manga is Satoshi, who they then renamed later to be Ash Ketchum. And if they do an adaptation, which you're gonna do, you're probably gonna do the American.
You know
one.
they're going
it's
to
gonna
do
be-
the
so it's gonna-
American Ash
So it's gonna be
Ketchum.
all white people.
Yes.
And that's when I go, no, then
for
don't
Brock.
do
No,
it.
well,
Brad
you-
Pitt plays
the,
Ash Ketchum.
The
Brock will be
that
Dwayne
is-
Johnson.
Is it, who-
The saddest
Oh,
thing
that
I
would
could
be
ever
good.
think of is Brad Pitt playing Ash Ketchum.
Of course.
A 40-year-old man running around the countryside with balls in his pocket, trying to catch imaginary cryptozoic creatures.
With Dwayne the Brock Johnson playing Brock.
The
Pika,
world
Pika,
is
holy
going to be
shit,
all
you're
washed
old.
out. All the colors will be washed
So
out.
who, if they do Ash Ketchum, who would you want?
It has to be a little kid because you start out as you start training at 10 years old. That's
They're going to, they're going to
That's
do
the way the-
teenage to early 20s.
that's the operating rules of the universe. And again, if you can't
No.
do it right,
That's the operating rules of almost every Japanese big universe. How many Japanese stories are about little kids and teenagers piloting robots, catching creatures, turning into magical beings? Do adults in Japan do anything? Or do they just stand there and go, nope, you're not allowed to do this?
It's
No,
like-
once
it's
you
like-
pass the
it's
age
like
of
Ender's
25,
Game.
you lose all that.
Yes.
So
It's like
therefore-
Ender's Game.
the kids are the ones that they needed.
They at least did it right and cast kids.
Okay, so who would
They'll
you want?
cast
Would you want
kids
some
in
new
movies.
kid that you've never seen?
I would want an unknown. Honest, I wouldn't because that's the thing is how many.
Who would you cast as Pikachu?
How many? Dude, all you have to do is just sample the voice actor's voice from Japanese, who still does it.
Oh, no.
Miller.
Pikachu's going to speak
It's gonna,
perfect
I was
English.
going to be speaking English and
Excuse me, Ash. I would like to destroy
Who would you have
No,
as
no, no.
Squirtle?
He'll have a very distinguished voice.
Again,
Excuse me, Ash.
I mean,
I
what
know,
do you- what do you-
I know,
No, but that's a completely valid question. What are you going to do? Are you going to do animal sounds because there's?
I think you do like
there's-
Transformers.
there-
I think you do just like Transformers. You get the actors who played the voices.
Well, here's the thing.
In the animated
in
series.
in the video games,
It's
in the
going to be
manga,
such a tough script.
in the
to
video
write.
games, in the
When
Pikachu.
Pikachu talks to Squirtle.
well, here's
Pika,
what
Pika.
but here's what
Squirtle.
But it's
Pika,
about.
Pika.
But it's definitely a valid
Subtitles.
question because that's the question everyone's going to have. Because in the video games, in the manga, and in the Origins anime, which is specifically based on the original video game, the Pokemon just make animal sounds. They grunt, they roar. They don't say their names like in the anime, which is a very
Right.
which is the only piece of media that actually does that as the way they talk.
All I know is I want a scene inside the Pokeball.
All I want is an adaptation of that YouTube video of Pikachu versus
Yeah.
Venusaur. Venusaur, do whatever you feel like. Wait, what? Venusaur? Question mark? That is the greatest thing.
So
It's
that,
my knee.
So who are you trying to? Are you going to try and please the anime people? Are you going to try and please the manga people? Are you going to try and please the video game people? It's
They're gonna do whatever it
I
takes
think-
to
I think-
please
They're gonna
whoever's paying.
Honestly,
for it.
I think Warner Brothers gets it.
Makes $100 million.
of course.
That's-
No,
that's the thing
that's
is-
absolutely correct. Well, I was talking to another one of my buddies because I had to post on Facebook my big worry about the Ghost in the Shell thing was like I'm going to say something and it's either going to be incredibly controversial and people are going to completely mistake it, or people are going to actually want to have a talk about it. And I was very happy to have people who actually wanted to discuss it. Mm-hmm. And we got to the point where my friend Jonathan, he was basically saying he was like he saw that Scarlett Johansson was not so much taking was taking the brunt because of ignorance, but that her taking sort of the brunt end of this internet backlash is on behalf of the entire cast because he's a huge anime fan, more so than I am, and he's the kind of guy who's also like, you should just cast all Asian actors, and that's the only way you're really ever going to get it right. But then I also mentioned something like here, if you're going to cast somebody, Scarlett Johansson is the safest bet because, sure, it's easy to say as Americans that you're going to cast an all-Asian cast, but your movie's got to make money in China.
Yes.
Your money's got to make movie in Japan, and
Your money's got to make
But
movie.
filmmakers
but
in the
here's
United
but-
States, their first priority.
is as much money as possible, and I understand that. But the problem is that casting Scarlett Johansson is the safe choice. But what happens if you cast a Korean American actress to play Kusanagi? That movie will make $0 in Japan because of the cultural dislike that the Japanese have for Koreans and vice versa.
Look at the.
If you cast a Japanese American actress, how many people in China will not see that movie
Yes.
because of the cultural dislike the Chinese have for
But
the
even
Japanese.
but even in Japan,
So
most of their commercials star American actors.
Of course, but for me, the minefield is that the minefield in the devil's advocate position that I understand and see 100% is that you're going to cast Scarlett Johansson because people in Japan, people in Korea, people in China will go see that movie because it's a big American movie with Scarlett Johansson in it. If you put a Korean actress and you release that movie in Japan, you're going to have a large swath of people who will not see that movie on principle because it's easy for Americans to see the Asian community in America as a very homogenous group of people with very few subtle differences because we're all Americans at heart, and that's something I believe.
The Japanese-made Godzilla
But-
movie trailer dropped this week.
And it's great.
It's great, but that movie
is for Japanese
is
audiences.
well, it even says it's released in Japan, then it will come to the United
Sure,
States.
I'm sure it'll get a Blu-ray release here in the United or
Sure.
like an art theater release.
Right, but it's not going to be in every movie house across the nation.
Right, and that's the thing is
And
like
the vice versa, because
That's-
I'm just showing you the reverse side of things. If you have that all Japanese cast, it's going to be specific
Super
for
niche.
yes.
Yeah, no,
Exactly.
And that's the thing is like I as much as I know what I want, I am not unsympathetic to wanting diversity in American movies. It's an understandable position to have, and it's a position that is easily defensible when you have the people who know when to make the arguments and
Sure.
know how to handle having those discussions.
But it's also
But-
with the right films too.
True, and exactly the example I gave is that if this was a property with nothing behind it, like The Matrix, the idea to cast an Asian American actress, is an easier one to make, and when that doesn't happen, of course you get upset.
Well, the biggest one is Aloha.
Sure,
with Emma Stone.
exactly, and again, that's another movie where that is absolutely the right time to question the casting system that we have,
Right.
And something like Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell would never be made if you didn't put a Scarlett Johansson in that role.
And I understand that. And for me, it becomes sort of that bigger minefield of like, okay, you get what you want.
you
and
wanted a movie.
you get what you got. It's Chris's "Be careful what you wish for." You've been asking for this for decades. You got what you want. You didn't get an Asian actress as the lead. But if you're Hollywood and you have to sell this movie overseas, and again, this is devil's advocate here. This is not my position specifically, but as devil's advocate, then who do you cast? And then it becomes like, yes, you can cast Japanese actresses,
But even in Europe, and parts of Asia, and even like Australia or stuff like that, or India, those movies are not going to sell, but to a very, 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 very
Specific.
minute niche
No,
audience.
I do understand that, but my argument is one of something of culture, which is something that we don't have the division of Asian cultures here in the United States that they do natively in Asia.
Right.
And that's why I bring up the idea. It's like, okay, you cast an Asian American actress, but if her cultural background is Korean, you've lost your audience in most of your Asian countries except for Korea. You cast a Chinese American actress, and as much as we all go, oh, they cast an Asian actress in the role, you've just lost Korea and Japan for selling that movie.
right.
And that is the devil's advocate argument that I'm making. Is like, yes, I don't like it as much as a lot of people do, and they have every right to be upset. You should be upset because it's a decision that something needs to change. But I understand when you have hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, you casting Scarlett Johansson is the only decision that you have to sell that movie
It's the
overseas.
safest
When
bet.
you look at a movie like Transformers, Transformers made more
I'm an
than
inventor.
half of its movie in a place like China.
Well, that's because Mark Wahlberg is Chinese.
I'm a vendor.
No, if you want to talk about an argument in terms of take it away from a race point of view, is the people that were screaming about Days of Future Past,
Right.
and saying why didn't they just have Kitty? What's the actress's name all of a sudden?
Ellen Page.
Ellen Page.
Ellen Page.
You want to say Emily Page? Ellen Page. Ellen Page should have carried that movie. Should have been that character. Why did they use Hugh Jackman? I'll tell you why they used Hugh Jackman. He's
'Cause
been in
Ellen
4
Page,
super.
yeah.
Yeah, she's just not going to
She's
be.
not going to. You would never get
Unfortunately,
your movie sold.
Yes, you would love.
Unfortunately.
Yes, again, I would love that we have a society, a world where it doesn't matter if they adapt that story closer to the original with Ellen Page as the main character, that it would have made the same amount of money. The fact is in today's society that's not true. If you're going to make that movie at all, you cannot make that movie to lose. Cannot make that movie to lose cash.
Right.
So they
If
made it
you
the
were
way-
making that
they
movie-
made it the way that they made it because Hugh Jackman was going to be a safer bet, more of a close to guarantee that film
Is gonna
would
make
have
a
made.
ton of
And they
money.
adapted the story to make it make sense
Right.
as to why they sent back Wolverine.
Yes.
She wouldn't have survived in the way that they sent her back.
If
And
you
so
had
that's
had
the
like
end of it.
Emily Blunt or somebody like that as the Kitty character, would you have seen them doing it?
No, because it's when if you could have done it wasn't Emily it
character
wasn't Ellen
itself.
Page as much as it was Hugh Jackman.
Sure.
It wasn't it wasn't Kitty as much as it was Wolverine.
Right.
It was you already have a different popular character. Your Marvel is going
So
to
it's
make,
more of the character than the actor
it
or
was more
actress.
of what you had. If
No,
you sit there, you look at
it's
that.
part
If you
actor.
look at that,
It is because there aren't a lot of big name actors that bring in the big bucks anymore. So if you're betting on Ellen Page, who is an indie movie darling,
Sure.
and can act like nobody's business.
Well, look at Juno. I mean, that's an amazing
And I
movie.
also go like, if you're going to make a Days of Future Past movie that's like the book, Ellen Page is a great choice because she can
Mm-hmm.
act that character, but that immediately takes away so much money. And as shameful as that is the world we live in, I understand why
What
you
was-
go to Hugh
But it-
Jackman.
but
What
the
was-
other
hold
side
on,
of this
stop,
is-
stop. What was in their toy box? What they had to work with, the pieces that they pulled out to use. Again, Michael Fassbender as Magneto, not a part of that story
Right.
in the
Right.
original. And yet you have a great actor that people fell in love with as Magneto. You're going to use him in the sequel. Boom, there you go. Beast, all of these pieces, none of these pieces were in it. The Days
Right.
of Future Past moniker is just for the very, very,
It's a
very,
name
very
only.
start. Yeah.
Yes.
The bare bones of that is based off of it.
Right.
Age of Apocalypse is going to be the same thing.
Right, Ghost in the Shell is a movie in name only. You're going to have characters with the same names and the same production
Tone.
style and tone, but you're not going to be getting Ghost in the Shell. But even with something like that, it's hard. It is hard as nerds because we love nerds and geeks. They are hyper passionate, and we all share those passions for things as much as we poke each other for our
Pokemon.
idiosyncrasies.
Pokemon.
Yeah, but they love things to a greater extent.
Sure.
and
we're very passionate about
we
it.
are passionate about things, and that's what makes us endearing as a
But it
sub,
also
as a
makes you
subculture.
blind.
It does. It
Because-
that's
totally.
exactly the
But this
point
thing
I
is-
was gonna.
Look
it's
at
probably-
Superman versus Batman. That's
Well,
totally
no, that's
boring.
just
that
boring.
mean.
The idea.
that movie was just, but that's also a movie that.
But there's the
is
meme.
just
There-
considered
there-
bad.
Hold on, you that
back,
posted that-
hold on. Back to his point, though. What we talk about in nerds, they become very protective.
Yes.
Yes.
And they just assume, I find, more often, if you don't adapt it exactly the same, it's going to fail. The first X-Men movie, you didn't adapt it right. You didn't make it right. You didn't. Well, oh, what? It made a whole bunch of money? What? Oh, crap. What do we do now?
And that's also why I
the
said
thing, is like-
that's why you don't listen to a guy like me when you're making your movie. Nerds and geeks, they are the outlier. You have to remember when you look at even the sales of comic book numbers, you have to go like the couple 100,000 people who read and love X-Men and love a character like Kitty Pryde are dwarfed by the billion plus people. You have to sell this movie to overseas who have not only maybe seen Ellen Page in one or two things ever, but then when you
one
have
of them is X3.
But you've also established as one character throughout.
But you also have But here's the thing: but when you're given like Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, a name that is known the world
Who's
over,
been in 5 X-Men movies.
who's been in 5 versus Ellen Page, Shadowcat, there's going to be a group of people who are going to be like, "Who's that?"
But the other side of this is it also Days of Future Past helped wrap up the entire Wolverine story.
Yes.
When
And
you-
because it's
when you
not-
get to
because
the
it's-
very
because it's
end of
not
it-
the Days of Future Past,
Right. When you get to the very end of it, it wraps up Logan's story that starts in X-Men 1 with him and Xavier of, there's things I can't tell you about your past. That wraps it
God
all
bless
up.
us. We're like Elmira from Tiny Toons. We will crush what we love to death to protect it.
I love Tiny Toons.
And it's the gift and the curse of being a nerd. And it's also why nerds are really hyper protective. There's a reason why as a subculture everyone's like, oh, the bullied nerd who is now like, why are all these normies here at my comic convention?
It's for years, why can't the mainstream audience accept us? Now it's why does mainstream audience accept us? We don't want them in here.
But it's also because it's a superficial acceptance. It's hip to be square right now.
Yeah.
But the day the next big thing hits, it will be back.
It's also that it's adapted.
It is. It's also an adaptation too.
You're sitting.
Jurassic Park, the movie, is almost nothing like the book in terms of story structure and characterization. but you still love a movie that is well directed and well acted and had the best people put behind it to make a movie.
So will that save Pokemon for you?
And that brings me back to, remember a couple podcasts ago, if you've been listening, I talked about Ghostbusters.
If I've been
the
listening?
movie. Well, no, for the audience.
Oh, okay.
For the audience.
I don't listen.
This is Sebastian.
But I talked about like,
Sebastian, this is the audience.
yes, this is the audience. It's all of us here and
That's not true.
and the Canadians.
And the
Sorry, your
Filipinos.
cousin.
There's Philippine. No, the Filipinos. In the Philippines, we are huge right now.
I keep trying to tell you, your cousin is not Filipino. No matter how much you want to make him Filipino.
But it's the same thing I said about Ghost. The biggest disappointment for me watching the trailer for Ghostbusters is that as low as my expectations were, especially production knowledge aside, just from all the Sony leaks, for me, what I was disappointed by is that like I was like, okay,
They didn't stay true to the franchise.
well, not so much staying true to that, but like here's the thing: it's like I like a good movie, and I don't care what the genre is. If you can make a good movie, that's all I care about in the end.
Well, that was what Chris.
And when I watched the Ghostbusters trailer, I was more disappointed by the fact that the trailer just was bad.
Yeah.
And it wasn't bad because of my own biases. It was bad because it was just awful.
Well, there was somebody that put up a meme this
and
week.
that's my big thing. If Ghostbusters, the movie, the remake, ends up being a good movie, I am more than willing
To eat your shoes?
to eat my hat and go like, that was a good movie, and I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong.
Sebastian
I
has been
want
chocolate.
I want Ghostbusters to be such a good movie because I
And
want
if
to
it
have
is-
that.
But here's the thing: is if it's good,
Not
then
gonna
I'll
happen.
say. But
Well,
then
no,
I'll
hold
say
on.
it's good.
The problem with this is he's going to go see it to find out if it is.
That is true.
And here's the thing: if Pokemon the movie ends up being a really solid kids movie, because that's who you're shooting for in the end.
Exactly.
If it ends up being a really solid kids movie, then I go, hey, they didn't do half of a bad job.
The
Good for you
only
guys.
reason to make a Pokemon movie is to
to
sell
make an
cards.
R-rated.
The cards don't need any help being sold, but the premise is simple. This is not rocket surgery here. Making a Pokemon movie is not something very difficult. It's only going to be more.
Rocket surgery.
It's
Rocket surgery.
Making the movie is only going to be as
Because
complicated.
the surgery on the rockets is
is
really
very
Oh,
difficult.
that takes me back to when Rich said.
I did say it, didn't
Yeah,
I?
but I think Sebastian meant to say it.
Yes, I
As
meant
the
to say
joke.
it. Making Pokemon the movie a good kids movie is only as difficult as your faith in the property itself.
Look, here-
and that is me quoting my friend Jonathan, who I had this discussion with, because that was the way he put it. Is that like when you cast a big name actress for a movie like this, when you make the changes you make, it's because of your faith in the property being marketable. So I am paraphrasing him, and I want to thank him for that great condensation of why these movies either work or don't. And Pokemon the movie is going to...
No way she's eating that sandwich.
That movie will fail on its own merits because of them trying to take a simple story and complicate it to hell.
Look, there was a meme put up this week that had like Superman. It was DC, Marvel, and then it had a picture of Star-Lord flipping everybody off. It's like everybody's opinion. Like DC fans think that the DC films are so great, and they're not.
Yeah, that the DC movies
And
are,
the Marvel
are
or this.
suddenly like highbrow.
Yeah.
I'm eating a steak and souffle versus the Marvel movies, and that is an ironic lack of awareness that is amazing to me, and I want it to continue.
And then there's the people that are like, "Fuck you, but fuck it, I like all of it."
Right.
But and then Chris made a great point with it, and then I thought the same thing as soon as I saw it, and I'm sure almost everybody else thought the same thing. Who gives a fuck whether it's a
just want a-
DC
yeah, I want a
or a
good
Marvel movie? Just give me a good movie.
right.
I do like the fact that he said Chris said that, and of course everyone else would think the same exact thing. Like
I'm not taking it away from you.
Yeah, and I was thinking there should be a fourth picture of the audience member saying, "Me, just make a good movie."
Yeah, I'm not trying to take it away
I don't
from
dislike
you.
Green Lantern because I don't like DC. I haven't gone to see Batman versus Superman because
You didn't
you
like
don't-
Jonah. You didn't dislike Jonah Hex because you don't like Jonah Hex.
no, the movie looks stupid.
Right. And that's
And then somebody saw it.
yeah, that's
Shut up.
See, that's exactly how I feel. It's like I don't have
Hey, they did a good job.
I don't
with,
have a horse to
on-
back in the Marvel
Legends
DC
of
war.
Tomorrow.
I just want for the love of God, I just want a good Superman movie that's charming and he's helping people and he's got a little bit of that.
I don't want my Superman killing people as the first resort.
sure, and
I don't want Batman, killing people.
I want him to wear bright colors, and I want him to. I just want I want a 2-second scene where he's saving a cat out of a tree for a little kid. Because
What happened to truth, justice, and
the
the American way?
right? And that's the thing. It's like that because
They'll
nerds
adapt Grounded.
because nerds love so much, they're willing to crush everything they love, and they formed factions. They they fight about PlayStation versus Xbox, and then you have the PC master race, who are
DC versus Marvel.
console peasants with your 30 frames and your 720p upscaled to 1080. You know, you've got like
I've heard that there's someone on this show that seemed to be talking about that. I don't remember who it was.
I think we got someone.
Yeah, there was
that's a
someone
big
about
PC
the
gamer,
superiority of PC
right?
gaming.
I tell you what,
but it's also again like
It's
oh,
Mikey.
but Superman, but this Batman,
Mikey's totally the gamer one.
but this Batman, he's the best Batman because he's no holds barred and he's shooting people with machine guns. And then you go, but look at your go enjoy your jokey Ant-Man, Marvel peasants. With your
speaking
lack
of Marvel, I'm going to move things on before
Sure.
you get onto your rant here. Speaking of Marvel,
You didn't want to let him finish his thought process.
nope,
that
I'm
is?
letting it go because he's going to go on for another 20 minutes.
What an ass!
I know. I'm cutting him off.
No,
Speaking
he was
of,
calling Sebastian an ass.
No, I was calling Rich an ass.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of Marvel, this week we had the Captain America premiere in Hollywood. We had the
That seemed really early.
the only reason I
Two
can
and a half
think of
weeks before the movie.
the only reason I can think of is they were doing a New York premiere this week, and the movie opens the last week of April in Europe.
Weird.
I can see that. They're trying to just parse out their
Yes.
premiere dates. I can see that.
So
I think Star Wars also premiered like 2 weeks before it came out too.
no, it didn't. It was less than a week. It was like 3 or 4 days before. It was closer than most movies do. But the Captain America Civil War is getting great reviews already. I haven't really looked at them. I'm trying to avoid things, even now because my Disney Channel's on here all the time, and now they're doing all their first looks and all their TV spots and everything like that. So I'm trying to avoid anything further. I know, Chris, you're avoiding the Doctor Strange trailer, which dropped this week. Which
You know what's fascinating about all this? Kids don't care about spoilers. And
Yeah.
that
A little. The
no,
avoidance
it's not
is
even
a
just
strong
kids.
word.
It's
just-
not even just kids. I've found with the Star Wars movies and things like that, because of being a part of the 501st groups, the R2 builders, things like that, they want all of the spoilers.
Right.
They want to know everything right now. They don't want to wait till the movie theater.
because they're excited and it's fine. And kids,
Well, not only that, but they want to be able to see like the costumes so that they
right?
can.
They can make their
build it.
replicas.
Doctor Strange. That was the best thing about the Doctor Strange trailer. They didn't show
a
the
good trailer.
They didn't show the costume.
Well, I remember like just on my Facebook feed, I'm following the RPF.
They
and-
released the photo and the poster.
The
of
photo, the
costume.
poster, but
And
in
it
the
looks so
trailer
good.
itself, they just you get the silhouette
It's
at
the
the
story,
end.
yeah, and they're giving you the story, which is really good and close to the. It's got that Inception look, that very psychedelic.
Yes.
which I
That was what everybody every mainstream person I talked to that saw it said, "What is this, Inception?"
Right.
And I'm like, but you've got to understand it within the realm of the story, and it'll make sense.
right, and the movie looks incredibly solid,
It does.
especially because Doctor Strange is one of those characters I love. That I was the last character I ever expected to get a movie.
Do you think this is a harder sell than Guardians?
Not anymore.
Really?
Because of Guardians, it's not anymore.
No. Okay.
Well,
But
that's what we said before Guardians. I said Guardians is the most important Marvel film because
Right.
you have the first major film that doesn't star a character that's had like a cartoon before.
Right.
You know, that sort of thing. And so if Guardians does well, then that second and third and fourth and fifth phase can be
It's
anybody.
easier. Oh, it's
Who
easier
cares?
now.
But
If
Guardians is
Guardians
easier
had
sell.
failed, then we would have gotten Thor 3, Thor 4, Thor 5, Thor 6, Captain 5, Captain
Yeah.
6,
Yes.
you know, that sort of thing. So
But
that's why
here's-
Guardians
But
success
Guardians
so
is
important.
easier sell than Doctor Strange and some of those others because we're used to having those outrageous sci-fi films.
Sure, but in the context of Marvel stuff,
There's a lot of super.
I think, but it's also something where I say the same thing about Ant-Man, which is Ant-Man. An Ant-Man movie before Guardians would be a harder sell than an Ant-Man movie after Guardians.
Correct. I agree. Guardians paved the way. When you have a talking raccoon and a talking tree,
Yes, it's like
you've
okay, all
paved the
bet-
way
all
for
bets are
anything.
off,
Yeah,
and you
Squirrel
can do what
Girl's
you
now
want.
available.
The reason that the SNL parody of the trailer is funny because it's true at the end when they say "fuck you, we're Marvel," you know you're going to go see it,
Right.
You know, at this point, you've established yourself. This is why Marvel's so smart,
And that's
they
why-
establish themselves with established characters using quality people at every
Mm-hmm.
turn, from producers and directors and writers and cinematographers,
actors.
and prop actors, all the way to actors and everyone else who's involved in front of the screen. That they built themselves a brand. When it tells you we're making a superhero movie and it's from Marvel Studios, we talk about studios. That means something. If
Yep.
you're saying we're making a superhero film, who cares who the character is? Whether it's Ant-Man, whether it's Guardians, whether it's Doctor Strange, whether it's Inhumans, which is not going to happen, it's going
get
to
to
be
that.
a decent film. So
That's why every movie starts out with Marvel's Captain America, Winter Soldier, Marvel's Captain America, Civil War, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel's Doctor Strange,
Agents of Shield. Please
Marvel's
ignore the first 2 seasons.
Marvel's Agents of Shield, Marvel's Daredevil. It's all of that stuff. They want to have that Marvel name first, and that's why everything you ever
Marvel's
see with it,
Pokemon.
they say Marvel first.
What if Marvel made the Pokemon?
If Disney made
I would
Disney
be
makes
okay
it-
watching it.
You know, it's funny is when that you say that is because I actually had a conversation with somebody. They were like, "Well, why isn't Disney in the bidding for this?" I'm like, "Because if Disney
They
was
don't
going to
have to
do
be.
this, Disney would want to buy the entire property. It wouldn't just be about
Well, it's also
buying
they
the
don't need
rights
to.
to
I
the
mean, we
movie.
talked about this with other things. There's a point where Disney's got to just sit there and go, there's no reason for us to own
Right.
it. I mean,
Well, they did the same
you're
thing with-
competing.
with-
all you're doing is competing against yourself.
Exactly.
Well, they set themselves up with like Lone Ranger and John Carter as trying to perspective franchises because they didn't have something like Star Wars yet. And they,
John Carter was still a good movie.
yeah, but they pushed John Carter as their sci-fi epic, and then they got Star Wars, and they immediately were like, okay, well the movie didn't do good. We don't have to worry about this anymore.
Oh, John Carter's going to be one of the anthology films. They're going to put him in Star Wars.
Oh, that'd be weird.
Yoda's planet is Barsoom,
That'd be really weird.
except he's the little
So-
one of the Green Martians.
Mikey, you're avoiding all the Captain America stuff and the Doctor Strange, at least till you can see it in the theater.
I'm avoiding any further Cap stuff, but
Right.
if it comes on TV, and I'll watch
Did
it.
you
'Cause I've already
see-
watched the first couple trailers anyway? So
Did you see the Doctor Strange?
no?
So are
And
you
I'll,
waiting?
I'll try and avoid that before Civil War. So
Because
and if that crap like that or Rogue One doesn't show in front of Civil War,
right.
then I'll probably just end up watching the trailer, just because that's. I mean,
The-
I could
the-
try and stop watching any of
Sure.
that crap, but
Well, here was the great thing about the Doctor Strange trailer, that and it was seeing the reaction from mainstream audiences and people that have no idea of that character within the Marvel universe. It was after seeing that trailer, they were like, "I want to see this movie. I want to know.
Right.
I don't know anything about this. You know, Captain America. Yeah, I've heard of Thor and things like that. But this, they're going into it going, I have no idea who this character is or
Right.
what this character is about.
And on top of the fact, people who do know Doctor Strange also enjoyed it. So that's
Right.
very-
Yes.
And
that's
my
the-
dad is going to be 70, and he's a guy who liked Doctor Strange when he used to be an A-lister
Mm-hmm.
a long time ago. So when I told him, like, hey, Doctor Strange trailer came out, and he's like, Doctor Strange is getting a movie? Really? Oh, this is going to be great. Who's playing Doctor Strange? What are they doing? What's
the casting
what's
is
the costume
brilliant.
look like? And it's one of those few times where he's like, oh, he gets really excited because, never in a million years would you have expected Doctor Strange, especially after things like Iron Man and Cap, and Batman's had a million movies. But for him, it's like, Doctor Strange, this is going to be fun.
Yep.
So that's the kind of exciting thing that there's.
And it's delving into a part of the Marvel universe that they have not gone
it's
into yet.
been hinted at only in the movies like Thor, where it's like, oh, magic and science
Right.
are one and the same. They're just different ways to
Well,
interact.
where I come
and-
from, what you call magic, we call science.
Yes.
We call science. Thor!
Story. So, also staying on the Marvel front, we also had the announcement of the title for the Spider-Man movie,
Yeah.
which was kind of leaked a couple weeks ago when Sony bought the rights to the domain name Spider-Man Homecoming.
I thought it was Spider-Man Catch 'Em All. Spider-Man. gotta
Spider-Man
catch 'em all.
Homecoming
Spider-Man.
was actually a storyline that was done in the 80s, 90s?
The
90s?
Homecoming storyline?
Yeah, it's the Homecoming storyline. I think it was
Like
in the
early 2000s, I think.
Yeah.
Was it? I thought it was. I thought it was earlier than that.
Yeah, it was early 2000s.
Perfect title for it
Sure.
because it is coming home to Marvel. It is about it. It's going back to high school.
Right.
I think
The other one was going to be Spider-Man. Sony sucks.
I mean,
I'm
although,
glad they're not going with Ultimate Spider-Man, Spectacular
That
Spider-Man,
bums
Friendly
me-
Neighborhood.
that bums me out mostly because like the logical naming convention would be something like Friendly Neighborhood or Spectacular or
Yes.
Ultimate, and it's fine.
I'm glad they're not.
That's just me though. That's
I
just
think
like, ooh, is it going to be Friendly
you know,
Neighborhood?
you know, one of the first lines, either in Civil War or the Spider-Man film, is going to call him the Spectacular Spider-Man.
Oh, possibly.
Because
yes.
that was the third title. You had Amazing Spider-Man, And
Yeah,
then
Spider-Man,
and
yeah.
then you had Spectacular
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
It
was the
won't
third
be
one.
J.J. Abrams' newspaper or J.J. Jonah Jameson's newspaper. It'll be
What's it, JJ? That'd be hilarious.
J.J.
JJ
Abrams.
Abrams is the head of the newspaper.
get me photos of Spider-Man, and they're all covered with lens flare.
There's lens flares all over the place. Who is that?
Who's
I
taking-
love it.
Who's taking these photos? You can't see his face.
But it was also announced that Michael Keaton is in talks to play a villain in the new
Beetlejuice.
movie,
Beetlejuice, yes.
which opens up my question. If Michael Keaton is cast as a villain in the new Spider-Man Homecoming movie, what character is he?
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, Beetlejuice.
He's fighting Beetlejuice.
People's Money and
Tim
People's
Burton's the
Vulture.
Yeah, People's Money was on the Vulture, but they may have
I can see him as Craven.
accidentally let slip.
Really?
I can see him as Craven. He's not like built, but
You can see him
see
as
him
an
as
older Craven.
a Craven.
People's Money was on Adrian Toomes, but then they started talking about how it's probably not him. So People's Money are on the Shocker,
Well,
Especially-
obviously,
especially after Birdman.
Yeah.
Although, do you do the Shocker because you just did Electro?
They're different characters.
Yes.
well,
How about-
obviously
how
they
about
have to
Mysterio?
do- they have to do Green Goblin.
You
again.
want nerds to get really crazy about
Mysterio would be
characters?
cool.
That's
Mysterio.
not Electro.
I didn't think of it till just now. Mysterio.
That'd be cool.
Mysterio would be.
No,
Mysterio
Bruce
would make
Campbell-
more sense to me than
Bruce Campbell should have been Mysterio the entire
See, I
time.
think that Jeffrey Dean Anderson should be.
He could be
Uh,
Chameleon.
I think he should be. God damn it!
I was going to say MacGyver.
Craven. No, he should. He should be Craven.
you want MacGyver to be.
No, I said Jeffrey.
He said
Negan.
Anderson.
Jeffrey D. Morgan.
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 Thank you. I did that because
Jeffrey Dean Anderson.
I
is
did
MacGyver.
because I did it before when we were
Third
doing The
week in a
Walking
row.
Dead.
Third week in a row.
It's okay.
It's because of the Walking Dead episode or the talk or the.
I could see him
The
being. I
Deadcast.
could see him being Craven, but I'd want to.
I'd rather have him as Craven. I think he'd be a better Craven than Michael Keaton.
I can see Shocker.
Mr. Negative.
See, Shocker to me doesn't.
Well, he has to be.
You could make.
I
him,
think he'd be a
Shocker to
bit.
me doesn't. Say, okay, the thing is,
Shocker's not an exciting villain.
that's the
but-
thing. If you're doing this and you're starting over, I thought you needed a bigger villain.
How
than
about
either of
Octavius?
those. He could play
Doc
Octavius,
Ock?
but you've done.
Nah,
but you have
gotta-
Craven to me makes more sense. And again,
Yeah.
Michael Keaton could be in it. He couldn't be. It may not be the main villain.
True.
Right.
I mean, there may be a cast. Yes, maybe they get MacGyver or some other
Didn't
guy.
mean
whose
MacGyver.
last
Jeffrey
name
Dean Morgan.
is Jeffrey Dean. Maybe they get Jeffrey Dean Sausage and they put him.
Richard Dean Anderson.
Richard Dean Anderson.
You know they are doing him in the MacGyver movie.
But if
Yeah.
you do something like Craven, you have a villain that has a big, huge history with Spider-Man and a
Yes.
villain that's never been used before.
Right.
I mean, that's
Yes.
your problem now is you've got a bunch of villains that you've already used. You've used Sandman, you've used Venom, you've used
Octavius.
you've used Green Goblin, obviously. You've used all these other characters. You're pretty much left with, in terms of name characters, you've got
You make
the Vulture and you've got Craven, and then you get into a list of people that
a lot of B's.
well, they lost,
and C's.
yeah, that the people who watch the Spider-Man cartoons aren't even going to remember.
Right.
Here's
The Dot.
Here's
Make-
the
make
here's
him the Dot.
Here's the
How about
million-
Hydro? Hydro Man.
Hydro.
Alistair Smythe.
Smythe might be bad.
Here's
Might
the
not
million
be
dollar
bad.
question: who do you cast as Tombstone, the black albino?
See, I
Crime
could see. I
boss.
could see.
Idris
him-
Elba,
Spider-Man.
of course. Idris Elba needs to be in every single film.
Okay.
No, I could see Keaton doing Tombstone.
Oh boy, that's why I asked this question. I'm very intrigued by
I could see him doing
by the
Tombstone.
by the thought
to
experiment.
get, to go against the grain with that one.
Do you cast a white guy as a black albino?
I think I
now,
could.
now we've bringing it full circle.
That's
I know.
this is my bringing it full circle. That's exactly why I asked. Like, what's the protocol on this? Make him a CG character.
I guess I could see him as Craven. I don't
probably
want to
what
see.
you But you could use
I don't
his
think
voice,
he'd be as
but-
good as
Yeah.
Craven as I think he'd be. I think he'd be perfect as Mysterio. But it's going to be interesting to see what they
See,
do.
my hope was always that that Bruce Campbell would have been Mysterio for
Those
the
movies
Sam
are
Raimi.
done.
Yeah, they
This-
are
yeah.
done, but
Yeah.
Even
that
Sam
was
Raimi said they were done because he made number 3.
because he made number 3. Yeah, but it's also like I could see someone like Bruce Campbell play a character like Mysterio.
Sure.
Michael Keaton, I know he can do the humor, he can do a lot of serious stuff too, but I think Craven is a good logical.
Craven is the most logical choice as the villain for this movie. I don't think that Keaton is the best choice for Craven, but anybody can play any part. I mean, he played a great Birdman, So it'd be interesting to see what he can do. I mean, he is versatile enough to where he could
Oh, he
play
is.
it.
He is definitely versatile.
But I think that it's more of the physique, what he brings as as part of his appearance,
and, and his acting ability. I could definitely see an older Craven for sure.
yeah. But an older Craven going after a younger Spider-Man doesn't.
Yeah, but it's the last great hunt is how you can frame something like
Yeah, Craven
that.
wasn't
That
young.
if you do it as the last great hunt, then that might work.
But then now that he's part of the Marvel universe, why is Spider-Man wouldn't the Hulk be the last great hunt?
Sure.
Well, no, you bring in the totem pieces and all the stuff that's in
Yeah.
that story.
Oh, you could. Yeah. You
I
could
mean, you have
easily-
Craven going after Spider-Man in a universe in which Hulk exists anyway in the
Right.
comics. So,
That's what always
So,
amused me about the character.
but then
of
now
I thought at
now,
first he'd be
if
Vulture.
if you have Craven survive that film, now you have a Hulk sequel, right?
There you
That's
go.
true.
I was wrong.
So
Hulk is
with
the
all
great
of
hunt.
with all of this talk,
Hulk smash, Hulk smash.
it also
yes.
came out that Kevin Feige said that Inhumans may be pushed back again, which
Oh no, not maybe.
on
Oh,
this
he
podcast,
said it's pushed back.
He said it's pushed back because
He
of,
just doesn't know the date because of the Spider-Man film.
Right.
of Spider-Man.
on this podcast, when it was first announced, when they did that whole big thing down at Pantages Theater, or no, excuse me, El Capitan Theater, where they announced all of the titles, there was a person on this podcast that said,
You can say his name. His name is Chris.
"Oh, I was going to let him go ahead because I know he's going to cut me off in any second now." There was a person that said that movie will never come out.
Spoiler.
I
alert.
said I would not be surprised if that movie didn't come out.
There you go.
I thought if there was a candidate for something to get canceled, and
That-
I didn't say it when the Pantages or the El Capitan thing, when they got, I may have said it somewhere in there, but really when
I think when they first announced
Spider-Man-
it, you said, "I don't think
when
that's
they
gonna
got
happen."
Spider-Man, I said I can totally see Inhumans being canceled
Because it wasn't just
that.
Spider-Man; it was also Ant-Man,
Well, it
Ant-Man
was
and
also-
Wasp.
Yeah, the fact that
Yes,
the-
they also put in Ant-Man and Wasp.
the reason,
which is
my
another
reasoning
why they
behind
pushed
that
it
was
back.
I said they didn't give themselves room for a Guardians 3, an Ant-Man 2, a Doctor Strange 2. There's a bunch of other films that I think they would have gotten to first. This is what we've seen with Netflix, where Daredevil comes out and like we're going to do Daredevil and then Jessica and then Luke and then Iron Fist. Oh wow, Daredevil was really successful. So we're going to do Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Daredevil 2 and Iron Fist and then we're going to do Jessica Jones 2 and so you've got to give yourself an open room. That's why I thought that kind of nailing dates to these things all the way out until
It's putting the
at
heart-
the
it's
time,
putting the cart
5
before the
years
horse.
away. Why would you put yourself in that situation? Because now you're going to have people jump on and go, whoa, obviously stuff's in trouble because they're canceling films. They're canceling films because they're adding other films.
Right.
You're sitting there with a property that you think is much safer.
It's
Which,
it's
Not
putting-
only in
it's putting-
Spider-Man, but in Ant-Man versus
Ant-Man
Wasp. There we go.
What's his name? Daniel Cox? No, who's Daredevil? Who's
Charlie
Daredevil?
Cox.
Charlie Cox. Charlie Cox.
Matt Murdock, hello.
Charlie
Have
Cox
you
said
watched the show?
that
Actor
Defenders.
Charlie Cox is the superhero Daredevil.
Charlie
Courtney
Cox.
is Daredevil.
Charlie Cox said that Defenders will start filming this year.
Yes, because they already have their
Luke Cage is
Luke
done.
Cage is done.
Iron
they're
Fist
gonna
is
start on Iron
getting
Fist.
ready to start production.
They have all the pieces ready for it.
Uh huh.
But yeah, no, putting those dates is
See,
is
and
the
that-
ultimate putting the cart before the horse because DC did it too.
And again, let's clarify. Kevin Feige did not say that Inhumans is canceled. What he said is we're shuffling off the release date.
Right.
But as of right now, we don't know where it's going.
And it
So
will
they
be
don't
separate from
have-
Agents of Shield.
Yeah, we don't have something. You don't think he said that? I thought Clark Gregg said that.
Clark Gregg
Clark Gregg
Clark
said that
Clark
he
Gregg.
felt that whatever the Inhumans movie was, that it would not be attached to what the Inhumans story is in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We've all kind of said that anyway because it was going to be the Royal Family.
Right.
If you're going to do the Royal Family, it doesn't have to tie into what we've already seen.
Correct.
If you do an Inhumans film in which the Royal Family shows up from the moon, they've been living in hiding as they're waiting for the Inhumans to get to a certain point
Mm-hmm.
where like, okay, now we're going to come down and take care of something, then that's something in there. Who knows?
You could do a
Still-
quick tie-in, which you don't need to. But
Because again, if something, some hell breaks loose, like I said, I never thought that Sony would give up Spider-Man, and they did. Who knows if Fox loses their mind and says, you know what, I'll give you X-Men. You're not going to do an Inhumans film. You're just going to
Do
try
X-Men.
to figure out the X-Men film, and you're going to look back at all the other stuff from Marvel and go, why don't they talk about mutants here?
I still think that it's a strong possibility, especially when you want.
I don't think it's strong, but I did say it's a
especially
possibility.
when Fox is saying they want to do X-Men television shows, and Marvel's saying, "Look, if you want to do it, we need to work out a deal." So, on that note, anything else you guys got?
Didn't we tease something else?
Did we? I thought it was X-Men or Marvel and Man in Black.
Marvel's doing Men in Black.
Marvel's doing.
It is a Men in Black is
didn't-
Marvel property.
It is, isn't it?
Yes. It's just not owned by Disney.
No.
That's weird.
Yeah, it is weird, isn't it?
So yeah,
That's weird.
that's a lad.
That's a
Lad,
wow.
Yeah, it was Malibu Comics when they first published it.
Yeah.
And then Marvel bought Malibu.
And that first comic is exactly like the movie. Oh wait,
It's
nothing like the film.
No, that first, because the issues were one-offs, but like that first 3 issues is basically carved into the entirety of the first movie. Because like story arc 1 is almost that first quarter. From like first issue is almost that first quarter. A lot of the meeting, except for the alien drug that the cartels were selling.
Yeah, I say it's a lot darker.
It is, the movie's way darker. But then I think
Wait,
issue
the movie-
3.
Did you read the first issue?
I did.
The
Yeah.
first issue of Men in Black is like an R-rated comic.
It is. It is. No, but the first story of the comic is they recruit Jay, but it's the cartel selling that alien drug.
Right.
But then
You thought the movie was darker than that?
no. The comics are darker.
Oh, okay. No, you said the movie is way
Oh,
darker.
then-
No,
then
yes.
my bad.
Yes, you and I agree. The comic was way darker than the film.
Oh my, no, those characters are not very likable characters.
No.
But then you go to issue 3 of the first Men in Black story of 3. That's the entire Edgar storyline, almost
Yes.
page for page in the movie, even down to the subtle jokes about his wife and them neuralizing her. So when you look at those books,
Oh, yeah.
they're actually really close. And when the movie
so
opens up, it
it's
says
so
Marvel Presents.
Yeah.
You get something to fix place up because, damn.
Except,
that's
except that they actually kill people.
So another
Well,
announcement
yeah.
that's not Marvel related, but it is kind of in that same
There is
vein.
no
It
such
is a
thing as
Marvel
not
character. Daredevil 2 will star Ryan Reynolds because it's official now.
Daredevil 2 is going to
I said
You said
Deadpool.
said
I said
Daredevil.
Daredevil. Deadpool 2. Wow.
Considering they announced
Considering
they announced it in film, I'm pretty sure that was a given.
Yeah, I know, but there was the
It's officially official now.
it's officially official. The Deadpool
Officially
2
of
will
the
star
official of officialness.
Ryan Reynolds, and it will come out
and
in
it
the
will
next.
have cable,
Yeah.
which they've
Still
also
have cable
said.
in it.
So on
So
that
they're-
note,
wait, are they going to have cable or are they going to have DirecTV? Because I don't want them to be separate.
Well, it depends.
it'll be exclusive on
depends-
Time Warner.
They're actually going for AT&T
So no one will see it?
Uverse.
So no one will see
It
it.
depends on what you got. Like if you got a satellite dish, but you live in a part of town with a lot of rain or clouds, then you don't want cable.
So,
They're-
anyways,
they're
on that
going for
note, I
Uverse.
think it's time to wrap this up. So make sure you check us out on Facebook.com/Nerdables. We're also on Twitter @NerdablesShow. And we'll be talking to you next week when it's our anniversary show. 3 years. It'll be actually the 27th of April, but we're going to be doing it on
What's-
April 24th.
What's
God,
next?
what am I doing with
What's
my
next
life?
week's show? What's the number? 132.
132.
That's closer than I thought.
Yeah.
Because we should. So if it's 3 years,
20
we
episodes
should
off.
be at 1. Yeah, just about. That's not bad.
That's not bad.
You know, there was all those.
20
We've actually-
24.
20-ish, 20-ish. It's two. That's pretty good considering all those weeks that Rich would text us. We're never gonna do this again. I hate this. None of you guys care. Well, you have fucking jobs and stupid shit like that. We're
We've
never
been
gonna do
really
this."
good about doing one almost
Yeah,
every
we just had to
week.
get rid of Travis.
Oh, wow.
Oh wait, well, we didn't have to get rid of him. He just left.
He was your intern.
He'll be back.
He's not gonna be back.
He'll be back.
He won't be. What do you mean?
Watch him show up next week.
He's not gonna show up. There. He's not even gonna be here.
All right. So, anyways, we'll talk to you next week.
You didn't tell him about the Facebook and the.
I
internet
did.
and-
You
They have 130 episodes to catch up on the Facebook and Twitter shit.
On the Facebook and the Twitter and
Well, it's
the.
gonna have to be